All right, today we're going to deconstruct an absolutely incredible ancient prophecy from the book of Isaiah. It's all about the mighty city of Tyre, and it's a wild story of massive power, a spectacular fall, and then a kind of redemption that nobody could have seen coming.
The prophecy kicks off with this really dramatic command, "Howl, ye ships." I mean, you can just feel the sense of dread right there. This isn't just some vague prediction. It's like a news bulletin announcing a collapse that's going to send shockwaves across the entire ancient world.
So, to really get the impact of that warning, we have to understand what exactly was being lost. I mean, who or what was Tyre? You see, Tyre wasn't just some other port city. It was basically a global superpower of its day. We're talking about a massive maritime empire whose merchants were treated like royalty, and its influence reached all the way from the coast of Spain to the heart of Egypt. For the ancient world, Tyre was the center of everything. The way the scriptures talk about Tyre, it's just majestic. They call it the crowning city because it was so powerful it actually founded other cities and colonies. It had this ancient, respected history and was even a close ally to Israel's most famous kings, David and Solomon. Simply put, it was the absolute pinnacle of wealth and culture.
And then, believe it or not, the description gets even more intense in the book of Ezekiel. The language used for Tyre's king is just so over the top, comparing him to this perfect being in the Garden of Eden, that a lot of scholars think it's about way more than just a human king. It really hints at a much deeper, spiritual kind of fall, one that's rooted in a pride of cosmic proportions.
Okay, so with that picture of this brilliant, proud, untouchable city in our minds, let's turn to its prophesied end. Because when the news of Tyre's fall would finally come, it wasn't going to be some quiet little event. Oh no, this was going to be a global headline.
The prophecy paints this incredibly vivid scene. Sailors returning from these long voyages, their ships just loaded with treasure, would get the news first. But not at home. They'd hear it in the distant port of Chittim, what we now call Cyprus. Can you just imagine their horror? Learning your entire world, your home, has been destroyed while you were away at sea.
And the ripple effect just keeps spreading. The prophecy says Zidon, which was like Tyre's mother city, would be just consumed with shame. It's such a heartbreaking image, right? A mother who has lost all her children. Tyre's famously crowded streets would go completely silent. All that vibrant life, just gone. But the shockwave wouldn't even stop there. The prophecy predicted that the news would cause sore pain in Egypt, one of its main trading partners. And why? Because they knew what this meant. This tidal wave of destruction coming from the big Eastern empires was now on their doorstep. Tyre's fall was a terrifying omen for everyone. But here's the thing. The prophecy doesn't just predict what would happen, it explains exactly why. This wasn't some random act of war. No, there was a very specific, divine reason given for why this incredible city had to be judged. The prophecy itself poses the big question. Who is really behind all this? Is it just another kingdom trying to take over? A simple shift in the balance of power? Or is there something much bigger going on behind the scenes? And the answer it gives is crystal clear. This fall was decreed by a higher power for one single reason: to stain the pride of all glory. It was a direct judgment on the sheer arrogance that had grown out of Tyre's unbelievable wealth and influence.
And this is where history gets really interesting. The fulfillment of this thing wasn't just one single event. It was this relentless process that took centuries. The world's greatest empires, one after another, became the tools to make it happen. First, the Assyrians, then the Babylonians under Nebuchadnezzar, and finally, the Greeks under Alexander the Great. The final killer blow came against Tyre's island fortress, which everyone thought was completely impregnable. The prophecy said its strongholds would be destroyed, and history tells us how Alexander the Great pulled it off with this act of brutal military genius. Get this, he literally scraped the ruins of the old mainland city into the sea to build a land bridge, a causeway for his army to just march across and conquer the unconquerable. But after all that devastating judgment, the prophecy doesn't just end. It actually decrees a very specific period of quiet and desolation for the once great city. The prophecy specifies a period of 70 years where Tyre would be totally forgotten. Now that number is fascinating. It's the exact same length of time that Judah spent in captivity in Babylon. It really suggests this was a shared period of divine judgment, a timeout for both of them.
But after those 70 years, the prophecy uses this shocking metaphor for how the city would come back to life. Tyre's told to sing as a harlot. It's a really vivid image, right? It means it's going to go back to its old ways, using its commercial charms and its trade savvy to lure the world's kingdoms back into business and get its wealth back.
But the story doesn't just end with a return to business as usual. Not even close. In what has to be one of the most profound twists ever, the prophecy ends not with renewed glory, but with a complete reinvention of Tyr's entire purpose. Check out this stunning transformation. The prophecy says that Tyre's future wealth would no longer be hoarded for its own glory and pride. Instead, its trade, its merchandise, all of it would become holiness to the Lord, and it would be used to provide for God's people. It's a complete 180-degree turn from its original reason for being. And you know what? This spiritual comeback wasn't just some vague hope. The New Testament and other historical records show it actually happened. Huge crowds from Tyre came to hear Jesus preach. One of the very first non-Jewish converts was a woman from Tyre. Years later, the Apostle Paul found a thriving community of believers there. The very city that was judged for its pride became a celebrated center for Christian martyrs, and eventually the home of a magnificent church, a leading city for the very faith it once totally ignored.
So after all that, what are we supposed to make of this incredible story? The journey of Tyre, from this crowning city of pride to a powerhouse for faith, is just so powerful. It really forces us to ask ourselves, what's the ultimate purpose of our own success? And how can even our greatest worldly achievements be redeemed for a purpose that's so much bigger than ourselves?